today's video, I'm going to be making Boston cream pie, which is definitely a cake and not a pie, from the King Arthur All-Purpose Baking Companion. Definitely pick up that book for classic American recipes. Everything I've made from that one has been a banger, from muffins to bread to desserts like this. If you're unfamiliar with Boston cream pie, it's a layer cake with a pastry cream filling and this dark chocolate ganache across the top. And man, is it just a really good piece of dessert. We're going to go ahead and hop into the kitchen, and I'm going to show you how to make it. I like to begin these recipes by making the pastry cream first because there's a long chill time involved, and I really like to get a deep chill on pastry cream before filling things with it. So we're going to begin here by taking 2 cups of whole milk, and we're going to add half a cup of sugar as well as a 1/4 teaspoon of salt. And we're just going to whisk all that together to get it dissolved, and then we're going to bring this to a simmer over a medium heat. While the milk and sugar mixture is coming to a simmer, we're going to take 1 whole egg plus 3 egg yolks, and to that we're going to add half a cup of whole milk, and then 1/3 of a cup of cornstarch, and then we're just going to whisk that together until we get a nice smooth mixture. Once you have a nice steaming hot frothing milk mixture, we're going to scoop out a bit of that, and we're going to just put that in with our eggs while whisking. And this is tempering them so that they don't turn into scrambled eggs, which would be bad for your custard. And now, with our milk and sugar mixture bubbling, we're going to take our tempered egg and cornstarch mixture, and we're just going to, while whisking, slowly dribble that in. And from this point forward, you're going to want to constantly whisk this and get it back to a full boil. That's going to take a couple minutes, but it's really going to start to thicken. We want this to be a fairly firm pastry cream, because if you don't, the gravity of the 2 layers between each other will push all of the cream out over time. So we really want to get this, get a lot of liquid out of here and make sure that we're whisking and getting this bubbling, because that's what causes the cornstarch and the eggs to really set. This is where you want to get it to. This is going to be super thick, and you want it thick, but the bubbles are still coming through, releasing some of that moisture. And while it's still hot but off heat, we're going to whisk in about 2 teaspoons of vanilla extract, and that is way too much. But again, you can't ever go wrong putting in more vanilla. Now we're going to add the pastry cream to a bowl. And you may wonder why in a lot of my videos I say, oh, you can't add too much vanilla. It's not because I don't measure my vanilla, but it's not because I've made a mistake and I just don't feel like re-recording or whatever. I just don't. No one's ever said, oh, there's too much vanilla flavor in something. But beyond that, most vanilla and other extracts are made in some sort of ethanol or alcohol solutions. So the liquid portion of it boils off basically within a minute or 2. A lot of the steam is probably that extract, the liquid portion of it, and just the flavor bits are left behind. So that's why I say that, and that's why it's completely safe to honestly do that yourself. I've talked to some friends of mine who are actual professional bakers, and they kind of basically do the same thing and just eyeball it, and if they put too much in, oh well. All right. So now that we've got our pastry cream in a bowl, we're going to get a piece of plastic wrap, and we're going to get this to adhere to the surface of the pastry cream so the skin doesn't form. Make sure you give it a nice, good refrigeration so it gets cold all the way through. And then we'll move on to the next step. To make the cake, we're going to take 4 room temperature eggs, and to that we're going to add 2 cups of sugar. And we're going to whip these on medium-high for about 2 minutes until they're nice and fluffy. You should get a thick off-white batter like this. And to that we're going to add 2 cups of all-purpose flour, as well as 2 teaspoons of baking powder and 1 1/4 teaspoons of salt. And then we're just going to mix this on low just until everything gets incorporated. You may need to scrape down the sides with a spatula, but you only want to mix this just enough to get everything combined. At the stove, in a small saucepan, you want to take a cup of whole milk, and to that we're going to add 4 tablespoons of butter, and we're going to bring that to just when it starts to bubble and boil. You can see it's just starting to bubble, so we're going to put in a couple of teaspoons of vanilla. And we'll give it one more quick whisk, and then we'll take it off of heat. With the stand mixer running on low, I'm going to use a funnel here and get that hot milk mixture added in bit by bit. You can see the batter is very thin for cake batter. It almost looks like a waffle or a pancake batter. That's okay, and you've done it correctly if that's where you arrived. It's supposed to be this watery. Now I've got a couple of 9-inch cake pans that I've greased, and we're just going to evenly distribute this batter into each pan. And we're going to preheat the oven and bake at 325 degrees for about 30 to 35 minutes or until the cakes look done. I just took these cakes out of the oven, and now we're going to let them cool in their pans for 10 minutes before we turn them out, and then we're going to let them cool all the way back to room temperature before we use them again. We are ready to assemble our Boston cream pie layers, and just a couple notes here. When you get your pastry cream out of the fridge, it probably will be a solid gelatinous mass, and so you need to work it with a wooden spoon or some other sort of metal or heavy spoon to get it back into a spreadable state. But that's good because it needs to be able to support the weight of the top cake layer. So we've got one cake layer down, and we're just going to go ahead and evenly distribute this pastry cream all over the top of it. Now that we've got the cream layered on, we're going to go ahead and put on the second cake layer, and you can press down. This is completely optional and just for aesthetics, but now I'm going to use my bench scraper in conjunction with the cake turner to get this sort of a smooth finish on the sides of the cream. It's not Boston cream pie without that delicious chocolate glaze. So I've got about 1/3 of a cup of dark chocolate over a double boiler, and I'm going to put in a 1/4 cup of heavy cream, and then just a splash of vanilla. And we're going to get this chocolate melted and incorporated into a silky sheen chocolate glaze. Once you get to this stage where you've got a super dark, thick, glossy chocolate syrup, we're going to take this off of heat and let it cool for about 10 minutes before we use it. You want to be somewhat careful at this step. You can see the chocolate is starting to thicken, and you don't have a ton of time once it hits the cake before it kind of starts to solidify. It'll continue to, as it cools, get thicker and thicker until it almost just becomes a solid, like a ganache. So we're going to go ahead and just slowly start to dribble this on. All right, the chocolate has set. I did put it in the refrigerator for a little bit to help it do that. And we've got this classic ganache sheen all around the sides, dribble down the sides, and then across the top here. And we're going to go ahead and cut a slice. And let's see how it looks as we pull it out here. Oh yeah, look at that. Look at that layering. You get that wonderful pastry cream in the middle, this wonderful chocolate ganache on the outside, and those super soft cake layers. This is going to be a good dessert. There we go, guys. This is your Boston cream pie. I guarantee if you make this, it doesn't have to be a New England themed dinner. It's just a classic American dessert. I've never met a single person who's like, man, this Boston cream pie sucks. This is just an amazing dessert. So go ahead and check this one out, and I'll see you guys at the next video.